Part 6. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 51. At 7 o'clock in the morning local time, He-Chien left the hotel room. The door opposite her was Fu Nanli's room. She watched the two of them go in together last night. She didn't fall asleep all night. The thought of the two of them might panic. Zhao Yuan came out from the next room and grabbed her. "Let's go down and have breakfast." He-Chien looked sullen, and was dragged away by Zhao Yuan. Wen Qiao slept soundly, and didn't wake up in a daze until there was a knock on the door. Stepping on the soft carpet with bare feet, he went to open the door. Fu Nanli was wearing his own nightgown with a dark check pattern, his hair was a little messy, and his eyes were sleepy. "Put on your clothes and go down to have breakfast." Turning around to look through the suitcase, she was a little dazed. She walked too hastily. The few sets of clothes she grabbed at random were all JK uniforms that Lu Yuyu bought her. The skirt was shorter than yesterday's. If she wore it out, that He-Chien would definitely think that she was a vixen who deliberately seduced Fu Nanli. But there was no way, she had no choice. Standing at the entrance, Fu Nanli picked up the collar badge from the silver tray and put it on the neckline. Hearing the sound of footsteps, he glanced casually, and his eyes stayed on her. Red and white JK uniform, short skirt, high ponytail, ochre red hairband hanging down the soft and slender neck. When Qiao walked over, only one person could pass through the narrow entrance, and he grabbed his wrist. The kiss stopped near her mouth, because he saw her flustered. The Adam's apple rolled and only took a bite on her chin. "If you are marked by me, you are mine." With a strong, involuntary desire to control, Wen Qiao was confined by him in his territory, with nowhere to hide. The rich aroma of English pear and freesia filled his nostrils. He sprayed on the perfume, which was not heavy and could only be smelled when he got close. "The parties are very sorry." He shouldn't have said it was his girlfriend back then. The two came to the cafeteria on the first floor, a self-service restaurant. After taking the plate and breakfast, Fu Nanli led them to the dining table by the window, with their entire crew on the side. When He-Chien saw Wen Qiao, the hand that was cutting the German sausage was exerting force uncontrollably, and the knife and fork were sharpening against the dinner plate, making harsh sounds. "Goblin!" I cursed involuntarily in my heart. Su Shen is responsible for the active atmosphere in the entire crew, so he carefully probed, "Captain, can we call her Xiao Wen?" Fu Nanli glanced at him. "Yes." Su Shen called out eagerly, "Xiao Wen, hello." Afterwards, she introduced all the staff members of the crew, and Wen Qiao quickly got up to shake hands with them. Everyone was polite and kind, and treated her like a little sister. The last one to introduce is He-Chien. He-Chien's eyes were cold, she couldn't even pretend, she just nodded her head. Zhao Yuan tapped her leg under the table, signaling her to be more enthusiastic, not to give face to the little girl, but to give face to the pilot. He-Chien turned a blind eye. Wen Qiao didn't care about her expression, and sat back opposite Fu Nanli. Seeing the tooth marks on her chin, Su Shen joked, "Xiao Wen, why do you have tooth marks on your chin?" Wen Qiao was stopped by the question, and she didn't know what to say for a while, so she looked at Fu Nanli in a panic. "Could it be, our captain bit it? Brother Dei, why are you so smart? Thank you for your support. Ask for a recommendation ticket." Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 52. Visible to the naked eye, Wen Qiao's face flushed red, and the redness spread to her ears and neck. Fu Nanli looked at Su Shen with displeasure in his eyes. Otherwise, who else could it be? Wen Qiao panicked, quickly reached out and covered his mouth. "Shut up." He-Chien almost cracked the plate, put down the knife and fork, and bit her lip. I'm full, eat slowly. After speaking, he ran away in a hurry. The people at the next table didn't dare to talk nonsense anymore, and they all ate breakfast quietly. Only then did Wen Qiao let go of her hand, and gave Fu Nanli a sad look. Fu Nanli didn't seem to realize that he had said something wrong. Stayed in Munich for a day, did not go far, only strolled in the city. Their flight was at 4 o'clock in the morning the next day, and a group of people were waiting at the entrance of the hotel. After a while, they saw the person hooked in the captain's arms yawning all over the place. The captain embraced her with one hand and pushed 2 suitcases with the other. The boyfriend is powerful. Haikan is surrounded by the sea on 3 sides, and low mountains on one side. It is rainy in summer. The plane arrived in Haikan at 9 o'clock in the evening, and there was a lot of rain outside. The dials in the cockpit were fully lit, and the lights and the night scene were reflected on Fu Nanli's face. There is a red dot on the radar on the dial, which is the lightning hidden in the cumulonimbus cloud. He has a solemn expression, and he needs to avoid these lightning strikes and lightning when he lands. D-1005 is applying for landing, please instruct the control tower. Rainfall can cause reduced visibility, and airport lights are particularly important to provide visual reference. The plane landed slowly and finally stopped after taxiing for a while. Captain Cheng smiled. Actually, I don't think this kind of assessment is necessary for Captain Fu. It's just the regulations of the Aviation Administration, and we have to abide by it. Fu Nanli nodded. I abide by the rules. The 2 of them got out of the cockpit. Wen Qiao was in a daze when his phone vibrated and received a text message, so he took it out to have a look. 2 million credited. Immediately I am not sleepy anymore. When Fu Nanli saw her, he saw her sitting on the seat with her mobile phone in her arms. Here we are. He stood in front of her and patted her head. When Qiao looked up and saw that it was him, she jumped up excitedly, hugged his neck sincerely, and said excitedly, I did it. When He Qian heard the movement, she looked back and was so angry that she couldn't walk steadily. She tilted her foot and fell on the flat ground, twisting her ankle. The pain made her groan. Unfortunately, Fu Nanli didn't even look here. Take a look. Zhao Yuan quickly helped her. Are you sprained? Go to the hospital quickly. He Qian was helpless to get off the plane. Fu Nanli stroked Wen Qiao's back gently. What did you do? It was only then that Wen Qiao realized that the body movements were too close, and she wanted to step back, but was held down by the waist by the man. It's just an academic thing, I did it. She didn't want to talk about money. Fu Nanli was someone who spent $3.2 billion without blinking an eye. If she cried poor, the rich and young would send her money, which would be even more confusing. It was raining heavily outside, and there was a spare umbrella by the cabin door. Fu Nanli went down the gangway with her holding the big black umbrella. The rain was dripping on his captain's uniform, and his chest was so large that it could shield her from the wind and rain. When Wen Qiao was held in his arms, she always felt an unreal sense of security. Even, a sense of dependence. She panicked at the thought of herself. She is a complete liar. There will always be a day when the truth will be revealed. Why does she depend on others? Facing the heavy rain one day, the car stopped at the alley of Shuiying Road. Wen Qiao was about to get out of the car when a man grabbed his wrist. Go to Xiaotangshan with me on weekends. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 53. The most expensive place in Haikan, the Xiaotangshan Club, was built by the Fu family. With family backgrounds like the Wen family and Zhao Tong, there is no barrier to entry, and it is a leisure and entertainment place that only the top rich can enter. One word, trench. Wen Xiao, what are you going to do? Introducing you to some of my friends. Wen Xiao thought of the tattooed man he saw in the hospital before, thinking that he might be able to find some clues in the club, so he agreed. As soon as Wen Xiao came back, Sulu couldn't wait to come to her to sign the contract to sever all ties with the Wen family early the next morning. Wen Jianmin didn't even want to see them, so he asked her to do it for him. She is more than happy. Looking at Wen Xiao's petty bourgeois attitude and her expression of being happy after taking 2 million, she was able to invisibly develop a sense of superiority. 2 million, just a few limited edition bags from her mother. Wen Xiao got used to living a poor life, and her vision narrowed accordingly, which is really ridiculous. Wen Xiao picked up the contract and signed it with his own name. She really doesn't care about the 2 million, it's purely for embarrassing Wen Jianmin. Sulu looked at her signature, and said earnestly, Wen Xiao, why do you have to make your relationship with Uncle Wen so stiff for 2 million? Uncle Wen is so angry that he wants to sever ties with you. Wen Xiao finished signing, threw away the pen in her hand, and glanced at her. I broke off the relationship 11 years ago. If he gave the money readily, the relationship wouldn't be so stiff. Since you are so considerate, go back and persuade him, let him treat his ex-wife and children well, so that he won't get angry all the time, huh? Sulu bit her lips. You are becoming more and more eloquent now, I can't say no to you, but I have always been for your best. Wen Xiao threw the contract into her arms. Okay, take the contract and leave quickly. Sulu looked aggrieved, and Wen Xiao didn't bother to talk to her. It wasn't until they got out of the alley that Sulu sneered, idiot. The 2 million that Wen Xiao received was on her card, and her mother didn't let her take care of the money, because she also had an uncle, aunt, and her pair of children, who were really not good people. She was afraid that the poor in the downtown area will not ask if the rich have distant relatives in the deep mountains, and she was afraid that the aunt would come to borrow money when she knew that they suddenly had 2 million more in their hands, and her mother would lose face and be too embarrassed to refuse. Now that the money is in her hands, the money will be used to hire a psychiatrist for the 2 younger brothers, and anyone who borrows it will only say no way. The most famous psychiatrist in Haikan, Ms. Chen Yanfei, graduated from Princeton University with a major in psychology. Wen Xiao logged into the film clinic and made an appointment for a consultation on July 25. Just after registering, I clicked on the mailbox, and saw 3 unread emails, all from Song Hao, the music director of Haimao Records. I replied to her email yesterday morning, expressed great interest in her demo, and wanted to add her WeChat to communicate with her further. Because Wen Xiao was abroad at the time, he didn't reply in time. Song Hao seemed worried that she had voted for several record companies at the same time, and chased 2 more emails, with a somewhat urgent tone. Wen Xiao quickly added his WeChat, and Song Hao's voice was quickly sent out, expressing his amazement at her musical talent. Regarding the music demo she posted, he has decided to include it in Haimao's popular singer Shang Fan, who will release it in September in the new album. Wen Xiao smiled. She fell in love with her, and it was reasonable for Song Hao to like her. Song Hao was a straightforward person, and he directly offered her a composition fee of 300,000 yuan, and the copyright belonged to Wen Xiao. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 54. That is to say, in the future, if this song is played on any music software or used for commercial performance, Wen Xiao will have to pay copyright fees. If this song becomes popular, Wen Xiao can basically make money while lying down. And Song Hao immediately asked her for an account number and sent her money directly. Urgent like a liar. If it wasn't for the 300,000 yuan received in half an hour, Wen Xiao would be a little uneasy. Song Hao was afraid that such a talented composer would run away, and wanted to settle down quickly, so he was so urgent. If there are any new songs in the future, you must send them to me, okay? Wen Qiao happily replied okay. She believes in Song Hao's aesthetics and character, and will be a regular long-term cooperation in the future. Su Yun entered the door with vegetables in her hand. When Mo stepped forward to help, Wen Qiao heard the movement, and left the room. Su Yun lifted the plastic bag in her hand. I'm going to eat shrimp tonight, how do you want to cook it? Deep-fried shrimp or brine shrimp? Oil burst. Okay, bring a toothpick, I'll pick the shrimp string. Under the acacia tree, Wen Qiao wanted to help her pick out shrimp thread. Su Yun waved her hand, you don't need your help. Wen Qiao picked up the lively shrimp, I want to help. Su Yun looked at her with a smile, oh, by the way, your uncle called me today, it's his birthday tomorrow, and he invited us to have lunch. Wen Qiao's eyes froze. Her Philistine aunt had always disliked their family and hardly had contact with their family. Last year's uncle's birthday was her mother's uninvited visit. Her mother bought a shirt for her uncle, and her aunt despised it as a street stall in public. Why did you take the initiative to invite them to your birthday this year? Didn't I get ridiculed by my aunt when I went last year? Will I go again this year? That's your uncle, it's my brother, don't worry about what your aunt said, did you hear me? Brother, does he treat you like a younger sister? He treats us less than Aunt Xiaojun treats us. Su Yun was a little helpless, just go to have a meal, and uncle invited me personally. I won't go, I'll go to you. Su Yun had nothing to do with Wen Qiao, you child, why are you so disobedient? The next day, Su Hai called early in the morning, and Wen Qiao could hear her uncle's voice from far away, you have to come, you are the dearest sister in Haikan, and how can your family not come for your birthday? Wen Qiao frowned, feeling a little strangely enthusiastic. Su Yun hung up the phone and said to Wen Qiao, your uncle said he would come to pick us up. Wen Qi gnawed on an apple and said, the weasel has no good intentions in wishing the chicken a New Year's greeting. What kind of wishful thinking is this family planning? Su Yun patted him on the head, bastard, who are weasels and chickens? Wen Qi snorted, our aunt is so afraid of getting involved with this poor relative of ours, and suddenly she's so enthusiastic. If something goes wrong, there must be a demon. Half an hour later, Su Hai's minivan stopped at Shuiying Road. He was 46 years old, his figure was a bit fat, his face turned red when he ran, and he was out of breath, and stopped at the gate of Wen Qiao's house. Uncle specially drove to pick him up. You, Qiao Qiao, Xiao Qi, Xiao Mo, hurry up and go to uncle's house for dinner with your mother. Both Wen Qi and Wen Mo looked at Wen Qiao. Su Yun was also a little apprehensive, and whispered, let's go have a meal. Wen Qiao smiled, uncle came here specially to invite you, Xiao Kai Xiaomo, let's go have a meal to celebrate uncle's birthday. She would like to see what kind of medicine this family sells in the gourd. Thank you for your rewards, votes, and comments. I really love you guys. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 55. Her uncle, Su Hai, owns a fruit shop in Haikan, has a son and a daughter, and lives quite comfortably. When her mother was still in Wen's house, her uncle and aunt treated them better than their own. Later, her mother was purged and left the house. Originally, she wanted to join her uncle, at least she had to find a place to stay first. The formerly kind and amiable aunt suddenly changed her face, accusing Sang of humiliating her mother secretly. It's a pity that her mother is not a person who holds grudges, but she is. The humiliation at the age of 9 has been remembered to this day, and she will never forget the days of being dependent on others. Later, she was mother's best friend. Aunt Xiaojun, who was still abroad at the time, learned of what happened to them, and hurried back from abroad, and gave them her old house with a small yard in China. And I have lived there for 11 years, and have never collected a penny of rent from them. Her aunt was a shrewd Philistine, and her dislike for their family was clearly engraved in her eyes. Today is very unusual. Wen Qiao almost suspected that they knew about the 2 million she received. But before she even had time to tell her mother and Xiaokai Xiaomo, how did the family know about it? The small van entered the community, and the greening of the community was well done. They were all small high-rise buildings, and the land price was around 30,000 square meters. Her uncle's house of more than 100 square meters was bought in full. It's been almost a year since I bought this house, and it's Wen Qiao's first time here. The car was parked downstairs. Suhai greeted warmly, "It's hot outside, come in quickly." Wen Qiao took Wen Mo's arm, and they entered the corridor together. On the 7th floor, when the elevator door opened, Suhai said eagerly, "Everyone said the 7th floor was good, so I bought the 7th floor." In a house with 2 families on 1 floor, the door of 702 was open. Wen Qiao's aunt, Himei, was more enthusiastic than Suhai. "Oh, I've been waiting for you for a long time, and finally I'm here. The watermelon is cut, come in and eat." Su Yun put down the fruit in her hand, and Himei said in a loud voice, "Come here, what gift do you bring?" Wen Qiao chuckled, "I'm afraid my aunt will dislike you if you don't bring a present." Su Yun pinched her from behind. The little girl really had thorns in her words. Himei smiled awkwardly, "Why? How could my aunt despise you?" Wen Qiao's cousins, 21-year-old Su Ying and 25-year-old Sulei, were sitting on the sofa watching TV. Sulei's expression was neither hot nor cold, and he just glanced at them. Seeing Wen Qiao, Su Ying got up immediately, went to the room to get a bag, and ran to Wen Qiao. "I just came back from Macau 2 days ago and bought a YSL bag. Look, does it look good?" Wen Qiao, "Show off your wealth. It takes me half a day to compose a song and it can sell for 300,000 yuan. Are you showing off your wealth in front of me? It's not pretty. Since you asked in all sincerity, I will mercifully offer my opinion." Su Ying's face was obviously upset. "I asked more. You have no idea about this kind of luxury brand name bags. You are used to street stalls, so you can't appreciate the beauty of big name bags." Wen Qiao didn't bother to talk to her. Su Ying didn't see envy in Wen Qiao's eyes, nor did she hear Wen Qiao's compliments, so she just took the bag back to her room and muttered poor contemptuously. Lunch started soon, and Himei said while serving the dishes, "The shrimp and beef I bought specially for you." Wen Qiao smiled and said, "We can also eat shrimp and beef at home." Su Yun pinched her hand under the table. "This child really doesn't show face at all." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me. The boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 56. Su Ying gave her a white look. "Other people have cooked delicious treats for you, you can just say thank you. Why are you talking in a weird way?" Wen Qiao raised her eyebrows. "Entertainment? Don't dare to do it. How can our family let your family treat you? We didn't want to come, but uncle insisted on us." Su Ying gritted her teeth. "Wen Qiao, why don't you have any rules at all? Is this your attitude when talking to elders?" "Elder? I thought you have to care about us at least a little bit to be called an elder. Can someone who refuses to save us when our family has nowhere to go be called an elder?" Su Ying patted the table. "It's my dad's birthday today, what do you mean? Do you have to make everyone unhappy?" Himei and Suhai quickly smoothed things over. "Okay, Xiaoying, please stop saying a few words. Qiao Qiao is the younger sister, let her order." Su Ying gritted her teeth angrily. Wen Qiao looked at the family as if looking at a western scene. Himei said, "Your brother is going to get married soon, and his partner is from Haikan. The woman's parents both work in the Industrial and Commercial Bureau, and she looks pretty. Wen Qiao remained calm and did not answer. Su Yun did boast a few words to save face. Xiao Lei graduated from a famous university. He is also good looking and has excellent work ability. It is normal for him to marry a good wife. Su Lei's expression was a bit noble. Wen Qiao knew that even her cousins looked down on them. It's like this. We plan to buy a wedding house for Xiaolei, and we will buy it in the urban area. Wen Qiao sensitively grasped that the real purpose of inviting them to dinner was ready to come out. Well, when you get married, you should buy a wedding house. Su Yun was quite cooperative. That's right, we are short of money here, and want to get some turnover from you. Wen Qiao lowered her head and smiled. Sure enough. Auntie was joking. If our family had the money to buy a house, would we still live in someone else's house? He may looked at her with a smile. Oh, your dad just gave you 2 million. Wen Qiao's fake smile was cold on his face. So, how did her aunt's family know that she had money? Su Yun is at a loss. Has the money arrived yet? Wen Qiao smirked again. Auntie, who did you listen to? It's not like you don't know what my father treats us. How could he give us 2 million? He Mei quickly took out her mobile phone. You child, I have received a text message saying that you received 2 million the day before yesterday, and you still haven't told the truth to your aunt. Relatives, tell me about you. Wen Qiao understood, it was obviously Su Lu who tipped the news. Really ulterior motives. She glanced at the phone number. Qiao, my uncle also wants to buy a wedding house for your brother, so that's why I told you. Tell me, don't relatives lend money to each other when buying a house for ordinary people? He Mei said again, that's right, I only borrowed 1.5 million, and I didn't buy your brother a big house, so it's only 1.5 million short. Wen Qiao looked at her with a smile. Don't you know, can the bank provide loans? If you think the interest rate of commercial loans is high, you can use the Provident Fund loan. My cousin and future cousin-in-law both have good jobs, and the Provident Fund paid by the company should be quite high. There is not much pressure to repay the loan. You child, you can't repay the interest on the loan. Why do we let the bank make this money, don't you think? Wen Qiao still smiled. Auntie wants me to make money. All right, the interest on a Provident Fund loan seems to be 3.5, so we are all relatives, so I can borrow money at an interest rate of 3 points. The faces of the whole family turned cold. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me. The boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 57. Just as Su Yun was about to speak, Wen Qiao pressed her hand. There was no room for negotiation on this matter. The money was used to treat Xiao Qi and Xiao Mo's illnesses, so it was impossible to lend it to others. Su Ying was the first to attack. Wen Qiao, why did you lose money? They are all from your own family. Do you have to calculate so clearly? Wen Qi was on the verge of getting angry. Wen Qiao pressed his shoulder, and looked at Su Ying with a sneer. There are so many people who take out loans to buy houses, why is it that your family can't bear the interest? In the past 10 years, your family has not. I have helped us a little, so why do you think I should lend you money? You should be the one who lost money, so why do you still beat me up? Soleil became upset. Mom and Dad, don't borrow from her, she is very angry. He Mei turned to stare at him, then looked at Wen Qiao with a smile. Qiao, in the past, my uncle and aunt were not rich, and they had 2 children to raise. In the future, Wen Qiao interrupted her impatiently, I have already hired a psychiatrist for Xiao Mo. The doctor charges by the hour, and the 2 million is not spent. I will not lend this money to anyone. He Mei earnestly said, oh, Qiao, people say that autism and depression are all hypocritical diseases. Why do I need to see a doctor? Don't waste that money. Pa. When Qiao slammed the table, everyone was startled. Wen Qiao held her mother's hand, looked at Wen Qi and Wen Mo, let's go. Su Yun was in a dilemma, and said in a low voice, Qiao Qiao, if you have something to say, speak up. Su Hai also said, Qiao Qiao, your aunt can't speak, so don't take it to heart. Soleil gritted his teeth, let her go, let's buy a house with a loan, and let's see a little girl's face. Does she regard her as a god? Wen Qiao looked at her mother, Mom, let's go. Seeing that she was trembling slightly, Su Yun knew that her two younger brothers were her lifeblood, and that Xiao Qi and Xiao Mo were hypocritical, which really hit her sore spot. The child was wronged, and she felt a severe pain in her heart. She quickly pulled Wen Qi and Wen Mo, and said to Su Hai, then let's go first. Su Hai and he may sent people to the elevator entrance, and when the elevator door closed, Su Ying and Soleil's eyes almost rolled to the sky. Mom and Dad, they said that they don't want to borrow money, why are you still so desperate, she? Wen Qiao's demeanor is something you're all used to. He may poke Su Ying directly on the forehead, you know what the hell, Wen Jianmin has always treated them badly, that girl can get 2 million from her stingy father, that means she has great abilities, this girl, in the future definitely a big deal. Su Ying folded her arms and sneered, you can pull it, isn't it just a joke, Wen Jianmin wants to face, so if you send her with money, she can have a big future. Downstairs, it was the time when the heat was at its peak, and Su Yun wanted to take the bus, but Wen Qiao hailed a taxi. Not only has Wen Jianmin's 2 million yuan, but she can also rely on her own talent to make a living. I don't have to live so tight in the future. Back home, Su Yun put down the bag in her hand, I'll go and cook some noodles for you guys. Wen Qiao solemnly said to the two younger brothers, no matter what others say, don't take it to heart, you understand. Wen Qi snorted, I'll treat that family as a fart when they talk. Wen Mo nodded, he only listened to his sister. Su Yun came into the living room with a large bowl of noodles, and the old air conditioner made an aged sound of woo-woo, but it still brought some cool wind. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 58. Su Yun filled the noodles for the three siblings, looked at Wen Qiao, and hesitated to speak. The money has arrived. Su Yun nodded, yes. I've also made an appointment with Ziokai Xiaomo psychiatrist. It's the best and very expensive. Mom, I won't let anyone borrow money. Su Yun nodded again, Mom didn't ask you to borrow money. Mom just wanted to tell you, don't take what they said to you. Wen Qiao drooped her eyebrows and said, I know. Wen Qiao has always had a good memory and has a photographic memory. Although there are suspects about the number that sent messages to her aunt, she still needs to confirm it. This kind of number is obviously not a real name number in the business hall, but a black card bought at a street store or a newsstand. After Wen Qiao's rebirth, his computer skills are self-taught, and he can easily decipher the firewall password. It only takes half an hour to find out from which site this phone card was sold. The location showed that it was at a newsstand not far from her home. Wen Qiao was familiar with the terrain and knew that there were road cameras there. The computer screen turned black, and the green code flashed quickly. It took half an hour to decipher that section of the road administration firewall. After half an hour, Wen Qiao intercepted that section of video, and carefully erased the traces of the visit. Come and go without a trace. After the video format was transcoded, Wen Qiao saw the culprit as he wished. Just as she imagined, no surprise, it was Sulu. And the time was 15 minutes after she signed the contract. She couldn't wait to buy a black card, and informed her aunt about the 2 million she got. Sulu understood the temperament of her uncle and aunt's family, and it was impossible not to take advantage of this kind of advantage. Wen Qiao leaned back in her chair and looked at the girl on the screen with a cold smile on her lips. Lu Yuyu's voice sounded outside the door was pushed open suddenly, and Lu Yuyo's face was filled with righteous indignation. Wen Qiao immediately turned off the video. "What happened to you?" Lu Yuyo gritted her teeth and said, "I ran into Huzulin and Zhang Peini in the toilet of the shopping mall today. These two are the famous gangsters of the 9th middle school. They smoke, fight and fall in love. Students can't do it. They have done it over and over again. Then what? I heard them say that it was Sulu who bribed them to make them spread rumors about your messy private life. Qiao, I recorded it." Wen Qiao looked at her with a smile, "You are such a clever little ghost." Lu Yuyo played the recording to Wen Qiao, and the two girls' voices were full of disgust for Wen Qiao, thinking that she was so stupid that they never doubted Sulu. Wen Qiao asked Lu Yuyo to send the video to her mobile phone and then to the computer, then created a new WeChat account, hid the IP address, and sent the video to Zhuang Yan. She is good at treating others in the same way as others. Her fingers were so fast that Lu Yuyo couldn't even read a series of operations. "Wow, Jojo, you look like a computer expert. When did you master the skills?" Wen Qiao smiled, "I have mastered it recently." Lu Yuyu held her face, Qiao, I really think you have become so different, you are so attractive now." Wen Qiao raised her eyebrows, "Don't love me, it won't work." Lu Yuyu scoffed lightly, "I only love handsome little brothers." When Zhuang Yan received the video, he was at a loss. He was sure that he had never added this friend. The profile picture was all black, and the ID was a string of irregular letters. He even wondered if his phone was infected with some kind of virus. Click to open it. It is a video of less than 1 minute, there is no picture, only audio. "Kiome, I justify the name of Scorpio, we Scorpio don't hold grudges, we will avenge our grudges on the spot. Ask for a recommendation ticket. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me." Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 59. After listening, Zhuang Yan's face was gloomy, his thoughts were confused, he thought a lot, and finally called Sulu. Sulu was flattered when she received Zhuang Yan's call. "Hello, Zhuang Yan, what's the matter?" Wen Qiao's private life is chaotic, and the fact that she has improper financial relationships with many boys outside of school is a rumor made by you. His voice was a little hoarse, with anger stuck in his throat. If it weren't for those rumors, maybe he would have. Hearing this, Sulu panicked. How could Zhuang Yan know? Sulu calmed down quickly. "Zhuang Yan, I don't know what you're talking about." Zhuang Yan sent a video. When Sulu heard it, her face turned pale. Why do these two have such big mouths? Talk about it in a public place. What a pig team made, she was miserable. I never did such a thing. They slandered me, Zhuang Yan. You know what kind of person I am. I have always been very kind to Wen Qiao. How could I do such a thing secretly? You don't need to quibble, you know in your own mind whether you treat Wen Qiao well or not. Sulu's heart trembled. What am I arguing about? Wen Qiao is with a rich man now, and you have seen it too. Is that why I slandered her? Because she lacks money, she will do everything for money. Zhuang Yan, how can you think of me so dirty? Enough, the other side hung up the phone directly. Sulu's face darkened instantly. Who took the video and who sent it to Zhuang Yan? The only thing she could think of was Wen Qiao. Now that Wen Qiao could trick her without making a fuss, she felt terrified. Did Wen Qiao take the wrong medicine? Why did he suddenly lose his mind? She couldn't panic, and couldn't get herself confused. No matter how smart Wen Qiao was, she couldn't compare to her. She played tricks on her for 3 years, but she just came back to her senses. Enough hindsight. At 6 o'clock in the evening, the cicadas were singing on the acacia tree and the big banyan tree. Wen Chi and Xiaobai were playing games as usual, and when Emma was nestling on the sofa watching Peppa Pig, just like a child. The mobile phone on the table vibrated. The car is parked at the entrance of the alley, come out boss. Wen Qiao lowered her head and looked at herself. Luckily, Lu Yuyu bought her a lot of dresses that could go to high-end events. She wore a champagne pink lace dress with dark gold threads in the seams, and the light moved slightly as she walked. She walked to the computer desk and knocked on the table. Mom came back and asked, and said that I went to Lu Yuyu's place, do you know? When she didn't even raise his head. Got it, the poison is coming, get in the car. Xiaobo, are your eyes just for display? Look at which car you got in, I'm in another car. Oh, I'm sorry brother Chi, I didn't pay attention. Wen Qiao. Walking to the sofa, Wen Mo held her hand, looking at her with clear eyes. Wen Qiao whispered, my sister and her boyfriend are going to have a meal, don't miss it. Wen Mo seemed a little worried about her. If it's an above-board love, why can't you tell your mother? Wen Qiao could feel his worry, and patted his head, because of some very complicated reasons, I don't want to tell my mother yet, but my sister and him have a very legitimate relationship, so you don't have to worry. Wen Mo nodded hesitantly and let go of her hand. The sky was getting dark and the neon lights were coming on. Fu Nanli was sitting in the car with the window half open, and the midsummer night breeze entered the car with the door open. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 60. The man who was looking at the stock market on the tablet raised his head and met a pair of pure and alluring eyes. Amazement flashed across Fu Nanli's turbulent eyes, and he said in a deep voice, let's go. After speaking, he held her hand and clasped his fingers tightly with her. Wen Qiao asked him, am I dressed properly? Decent. Cherish words like gold. The Xiaotangshan Club was built on the mountain. The car passed through the trails of camphor trees and phoenix trees, and stopped firmly in front of a low-key and luxurious building by the lake. The doorman came forward to open the door, and the two got out of the car together. Master, a group of waiters in formal attire greeted him respectfully. Fu Nanli hugged Wen Qiao and walked in. Where are they? The bridge room. All kinds of famous paintings from various countries were hung on both sides of the corridor, and the crystal chandeliers poured light on them. Wen Qiao was worried, and cautiously probed, do you remember those friends of yours? Uncle Li introduced him as some cousins of Fu's collateral line. Only then did Wen Qiao breathe a sigh of relief. The hand-pulled door of the bridge room was opened, and the interior was luxurious and spacious, with soft lighting from the crystal chandelier, and the dark gray and dark green decorations looked heavy and textured. Except for the bartender, there were 4 people in total, 2 were playing cards, 1 was drinking, and 1 was playing darts. Wen Qiao wandered her eyes, wanting to see if there was the back that she saw in the hospital that day. Too bad it's really hard to tell. Seeing Fu Nanli's arrival, everyone stopped what they were doing. The young master is here. Although everyone here is young master, they still respectfully call Fu Nanli young master, the only heir of the Fu family. His status is naturally extremely noble. Fu Nanli introduced them one by one. Fu Chuan, Fu Huayuan, Fu Huaiming, Fu Cheng. The first 3 were all older than him, in their early 30s, and the last one, Fu Cheng, was 2 years younger than him, and they were all cousins of the Fu family. Several people were a little surprised when they saw Wen Qiao. Who is this? It's my girlfriend. While talking, she had already pulled Wen Qiao to the sofa and sat down. Fu Cheng had a look of disbelief. Master, when did you date your girlfriend? Why don't we know? Wen Qiao pretended to be calm and smiled. Fu Nanli glanced at him lightly. I have to report everything to you. When? Prepare for the war. Zhou breathed a sigh of relief. Fu Cheng joked, I just feel that you are like a cold working machine, young master, and you can even fall in love. Let's play cards, Fu Huayuan suggested. Fu Huayuan and Fu Huaiming are blood brothers. Compared with Fu Cheng, their relationship with the direct line is a bit farther, and the furthest one is Fu Chuan. Fu Huaiming shook his head helplessly, young master who is a genius in mathematics and physics, why don't we give him money to play cards with him? Fu Cheng laughed and said, brother, give us some water, otherwise it will be boring to play. Fu Nanli put his arms around Wen Qiao's shoulders, then let her play with you. Fu Cheng, then we are not bullying my sister. Wen Qiao smiled, then brothers, please be merciful. Her voice was soft, and there was always an unconscious sense of coquettishness when she spoke. Fu Nanli's smile subsided a little, and he squeezed Wen Qiao's hand tightly. The four of them sat around the table, and Fu Nanli sat beside Wen Qiao. The test of bridge is calculation ability. The three of them were lenient at first, after all, they are all masters of the game, they are too bullying, the young master can't bear it. Unexpectedly, Wen Qiao won 3 rounds in a row, and the girl looked at them with a smile, thank you brothers for letting me go. Fu Nanli looked indifferently, the girl's card counting ability exceeded his expectations, and she was a hidden master.